Okay, welcome everyone to Ask the King episode 35. Today is July 4th, 2013, so happy Independence Day to everyone in the United States, where it is a national holiday. If it's not, if you live outside the United States, well, tough luck today. We get the day off and you don't. Alright, so this episode of Ask the King is actually going to be a little bit different than previous ones because my printer's on the fritz. Over the past month, something happened with my printer and it desynced from my PC. It is a wireless printer. So what I need to do eventually is take this giant thing that weighs like 15 pounds, unplug it, bring it in here, plug it into my PC again so it'll resync, and then bring it back into the bedroom and plug it back in, and then it'll work. However, I haven't had a chance to do that. I've been very busy with stuff, and I said rather than worry about rushing to do that today and have papers, I'm actually going to be reading the questions right off of my laptop, okay? So that's how we're going to do it today. I'm going to have to be bending over a little bit to read it. We're going to be reading off the laptop. We got a good assortment of questions, both from my website, thekingofhate.com, also from Twitter and Facebook, and we're going to be taking questions from a live raffle here on the stream on Twitch TV, which is live streaming right now. So if you want your question answered, or you have a chance to have your question answered in the raffle, submit it via the raffle system in the stream chat, okay? So we're going to get right into it. Probably run a half-hour segment, and then I'll take a break, and then another half-hour segment, etc., etc. We're going to split the videos up, okay? Excuse me. Alright, so let's get right into it. Let me get my questions up here, and we'll get started. Okay, so the first question is from Prince Sephiroth, and he asks, "Hey Phil, I was wondering if there are any types of literature or a genre of books that you were particularly fond of or liked reading. I'm a huge fan of Greek and Norse mythology myself. I also like sci-fi set in the universe of some of my favorite works of fiction, such as Star Wars and Star Trek. How about you?" And again, it's from Prince Sephiroth. Over the course of my life, there have been different book series that I've definitely enjoyed, one of which being The Lord of the Rings. I actually read the Lord of the Rings trilogy before the movies were ever even in production, when I was much younger. And I absolutely loved those books. And so when the movies came out, obviously I was ecstatic that these characters from these books that I had read earlier in my life were coming to life on the silver screen. Okay? Another series of books that I absolutely loved to read when I was really young was Goosebumps. I know a lot of people probably remember that. It was these really kind of funny but scary kind of thriller books written for kids, so it wasn't anything like really gory or anything, but it was creepy monster ghost stories and stuff like that. I really enjoyed those. As I got older, I actually liked this line of books that were called the Redwall books. They were by a writer called Brian Jacques, and these books were about anthropomorphic animals, like animals that were like humans, basically. But it was kind of in a British setting. It was more like medieval times. It was about how some of them were like invaders and some of them were like peaceful settlers. And it was knighthood and stuff like that with animals, which was pretty crazy. But it was a really interesting series of books, and I read quite a lot of them. Unfortunately, later on, Brian passed away, and he was never able to really complete the series of books. Now, as I got older, my tastes got a little bit different, and so I'd have to say some of the series that I've read since I was basically an adult, I'd say probably since I've been 20 years old, would have been the Bryan Adams books about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I read that entire series of books and absolutely loved that series, okay? Also, some of these Dan Brown books, like I did not read the first one, the Da Vinci Code, but I did read Angels and Demons, and I also read, there was another one he wrote after that I read, and the new one just came out, Inferno. I'll probably get around to reading that one too. And of course, everyone knows I'm reading Game of Thrones. I like that series of books. So there's been a lot of different series of books and a lot of different subject matters as well that I've enjoyed over time. And I'm sure there's going to be ones in the future too that are going to kind of, catch me and have me read them all. But for now, that's pretty much what I've been following along. Okay, the next question is from Master of Awesomeness, who I actually met at SGC. And he asks, what are your favorite baseball teams and what are your least favorite baseball teams? Well, first of all, I can tell you this, I'm not a big fan of sports, okay? I was when I was younger. When I was a younger kid, I actually collected baseball cards. I was going to games. I would go to baseball games. There was a lot of this stuff that I would follow, but then it kind of fell off, and the reason is, unfortunately, my teams, which were always kind of the second string New York, New Jersey teams, always choked. So we're talking teams like the Mets, teams like the Jets, teams like the New York Knicks. These are the teams that, like, every year they have a massive potential, they look like they're going to do well, and then when it finally comes down to it, they fucking choke when it counts. But I was a fan of the Mets during the time of the greats, like Darryl Strawberry and Howard Johnson, and there's like 2 or 3 other really big name players that were on the Mets, and they were kind of like the dream team for the Mets. Those few years were the years that I was really heavily into baseball, and I would go to baseball games, and I would, like I said, with baseball cards and all that. Then, unfortunately, I kind of just fell off, because like I said, all my teams every year would choke, and it's just like, how many years can you watch something and then watch them literally do the same fucking thing every year at the 11th hour when it counts, when it's time to put down and bunker down and do well? They would always choke, and I said, you know what? I've had enough, and that's pretty much when I stopped watching all sports altogether. Later on, I did actually pick up American football, but then, even then, I watched it for a year or two, and it's for me, the problem is it's too long, there's too many games, and it takes too long to get to the end of the season. It's like, how many fucking months do you expect me to follow this, and follow it, and follow it, and follow it, and watch every game? Oh, I missed 2 games, now everything's different. Like, I don't have enough time to follow that shit, you know what I mean? It's become so overblown because it's become a business, a money-making business. That's the only reason why there's so many games, is because it's a business now, and it's all about the money, it's not about the love of the sport, and so they have to play us 5 bajillion fucking games so that they can make as much TV revenue as they possibly can. So, for me, I fell off from sports when I was much younger. My least favorite baseball team, I have none, because quite honestly, like I said, I haven't been following baseball for so long, I know nothing really about it, and I wouldn't even know enough about a team to hate them. It seems like the team that everyone loves to hate is either the Yankees or the Red Sox for different reasons, but I was never really part of that rivalry, because like I said, I was a fan of the Mets, so I wasn't even involved in that historic rivalry of this area, okay? Alright, next question. Alright, this is a long one, so bear with it, but let's talk. Alright, it says, Phil, what are your thoughts on movie sequels and the director's approach towards such things today? Today, most movies that break box office are usually sequels. I'm in an uproar with certain sequels because they're so ridiculous that these series are getting extended, especially when you're up to like 6 Fast and Furious movies. Then you have The Hangover Part 3, and it's like, that's absolutely ridiculous. How the fuck could that situation happen to the same people 3 times? It makes no fucking sense. So it's ridiculous because you know that fans of the first movie will just keep coming and spending their money over and over, regardless of the fact if the sequel ends up being a piece of shit or not. Also, he actually says, this was the way I felt towards Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, until finally I accepted that the movie did suck ass and never needed to be made. What do you think a director's motives are for this? Are they doing it just for the money? Are they doing it because they want to extend the story with these characters that they fell in love with? Are they doing it because they want to they don't know how to make a new movie franchise? It's easier to just make a sequel? Are they doing it because maybe it's less likely that a sequel will flop at the box office, and they're afraid to take risk with new projects? Do directors run sequels when they're in need of a success and they just want to make more money? What do they want? What is the deal with that? And that's from Hale. So thank you, Hale, for that very well thought out question. And it's funny because we've been talking very recently about sequels in games, and when you really think about it, it is the same situation with movies as well. Basically, everything's a fucking sequel or a remake. No, there's almost no originality when it comes to a lot of stuff these days, and you got to ask yourself why. Why is there no originality? Well, it's basically 2 reasons. Number 1, it's because we're in a bad economy, and not only in America but internationally, the economy is bad. And when people have less money, they spend less money on entertainment. Okay, so if you're spending less money on entertainment, that means you're going to pick and choose what you can watch. And are you going to go see the sequel to the movie that you really liked, or are you going to take a chance on a movie that you don't know if it's good or not and you may or may not like? That's what's happening right now with movies, okay? But it's actually the exact same thing with video games. These video games are becoming bigger projects. They're having bigger budgets now. They cost millions of dollars to make. They're getting serious voice actors, serious actors to do stuff in these roles. And because the production values are going up, the cost to make the games are going up. So you really have to think, if we're a games development studio, we can make a sequel to a game that sold really well and know that just because it's a sequel, we could have guaranteed money that'll make up for the massive amount of money that we spent developing this game. or we can take a chance on a brand new franchise that we're not sure how the gaming audience is going to accept it. So this is what's happening with game studios today. It's the same situation. Surefire money on our investment, or take a chance at something new and good. And a lot of, unfortunately, with these movie studios and with game studios, they're doing the same thing. Go with the sure bet. Just make Call of Duty number 472 instead of focusing on a new project over here that could possibly be better, okay? Or at least different. So this is what happens in a bad economy. When people have less money to spend on these superfluous entertainment items, they go for the surefire bet of what they know exactly what it is, and therefore, since these studios are looking to make up for money for their investment on making the games, they just make the sequels. The problem is that it stifles creativity and it stifles the art of these things. So this is what people don't seem to realize a lot of the time. Sure, okay, a movie or a video game, that's a piece of a product to sell for business. That's why you're doing it. You make it to make money. But it's also a work of art. And so for the artistic value of what you're doing, you have to weigh that in. Is Call of Duty Ghosts going to be a work of art? Or is it going to be, okay, same fucking rehash shit, go online, play for hundreds of hours, because I'm a zombie drone and I've been playing the same fucking game for 6 years now, but every year I just go buy it because this is what I do for my free time, okay? That's the question. And you have to ask yourself, if you went and saw The Hangover 3, did you take money out of the pocket of another movie that was really fucking good, that was very artistic, a great story, great cinematography, great acting, but you put the money in the pocket of these guys that just dialed in a third shitty sequel to a movie instead of actually giving it to maybe a new movie that deserved it better? And this is a big problem right now. The creativity and the artistic value of the things that are being putting out there are diminishing rapidly because it's all about this now. It's all about this and not about the quality. And that's a problem. When you go to the store and you spend your $60 on a video game, do you want a game that's the same fucking gameplay you've played 7 times before, or do you want a unique, fun experience? And that's the question. A lot of people are saying, well, I'm just going to go for the same shit that I always played before because I know that I enjoy that. And that's fine, but understand that that is going to stifle creativity. And that's exactly what's going on. And it's a slippery slope, because do you really want everything that's put out there made just for money? Or do you want it for the sake of something beautiful, the sake of something awesome, something entertaining, something fun, something different, something new? And so you have to weigh and balance those two things, art versus business, okay? Right now, it's like business, and art's somewhere way down here that is like an afterthought a lot of the time. So it's a sad situation for movies and games right now. Now, here's the thing. If the economy turns around, if all of a sudden in a couple years, whoa, businesses start booming again, money is up, we got maybe another tech boom or something, you will see people with more money spending more again, and you'll take more chances on these things that aren't the surefire bet that you know what it is. But the problem is right now we're just in this bad situation, and when you've got mainstream media on TV every day saying, oh, unemployment is down and there are more jobs, and then when you actually do research and you find out that the unemployment is not down, that there's actually record numbers of people just giving up on the job search because they just can't find work, and the jobs that they claim are being created are line-level service jobs that pay minimum wage and aren't even enough to make a living wage to live in this country, you find out, wow, things aren't getting better, they're getting worse. And so things are going to continue to get worse with things like movies and games until the government finds a way to flip it. And right now, they're doing a god-awful job of doing it, okay? They're just not doing anything to make things better, and that's a major fucking problem, okay? All right. Now, this next question is interesting because a lot of people asked it this time around. I guess a lot of people had like a common theme, so I'm not going to just say one person asked it, but I am going to address the subject matter. Someone asked, Phil, what do you think about ghosts? Are you superstitious? Do you believe in the supernatural? And a lot of people were asking me this because they said when they watch me play a game that may be scary, I don't seem to get scared that much at it. You know what I mean? Like I'm playing Silent Hill or whatever, and I'm not terrified at the scary parts when a lot of other people are. That is an excellent question. Now, I'm going to answer it carefully because I don't want to offend people, okay? Personally, myself, I do not believe in ghosts. okay? I do not believe in the supernatural. I don't believe that there are oogly ghoulies out there that are trying to scare us or contact us. I'm not saying that there isn't some kind of a scientific thing going on with things such as ghosts, where people are seeing the same thing over and over or experiencing crazy, things that can't be explained. There may actually be things beyond our understanding that we just haven't discovered yet that do exist. However, I do not believe in this ethereal that all the dead are trying to contact us and come back and do all this stuff. I don't believe in zombies, or at least I don't believe that the supernatural version of zombies could happen, but I believe that maybe a virus could make a person turn into a zombie-like creature, okay? I don't believe in vampires, werewolves, you know what I mean? All the supernatural stuff. I've never believed in it. And actually, there was a point in my life when I was younger when I thought it would be really cool if when I got older, I could actually maybe investigate those kind of phenomena. Like, I would be like, and I'm not saying ghost hunters, but I actually had the idea for ghost hunters before ghost hunters ever happened. I just, didn't have the means to really do anything with it. But I was like, gee, I would like to visit some of the most famous haunted areas of the world and walk around in them with scientific equipment and see what the hell was really there. And it's funny because I have to say this. These shows, these ghost hunter shows, have become so overblown and over-dramatized and staged. They're blatantly staged at this point. Like, you'll be like, did you hear that? Oh my god. And then they play the scary music. No, oh no, what did they hear? It's like, I didn't fucking hear anything. What the fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean? It's like, they're so staged and fake. And it's just a shame because I would actually like some scientific people to go research this stuff and see if there's any weight to it, and maybe there is something that we don't know. There's some scientific phenomenon going on that we could actually discover if someone treated it seriously. But again, they're treating it more as a business than as a scientific research. Why does everything have to be, we have to over-dramatize it so more people will watch on TV so we can sell more ads? No, make a serious fucking show where people are really researching it and doing this stuff, okay? And I haven't seen that. I want ghost hunters, ghost adventures, haunted collector, all this shit, and it's all so fucking fake. It is so fake. I just want to see the reality of it. I want to see it really be done, or someone do it off TV and just be scientifically researching it for real purposes. But I don't believe in that stuff. I never have. I probably never will. I've never had a supernatural experience or anything crazy like that happen to me. And I don't think I ever will start believing in it unless I do have like a supernatural experience or whatever happened to me, which has not happened, okay? Alright, next question. Hey Phil, so State of Decay turned out to be quite a good game despite a lack of attention from the gaming press, or I guess the mainstream gaming press. Unfortunately, this seems to happen lately. Decent games are going unnoticed and not getting the attention that they deserve. What are your thoughts on this? Why do you think it happens, and what do you think needs to be done to change it? And that's from HorrorPunX610. It's an interesting question, and the reason I say that is because I do notice that some games are getting more attention from the mainstream. In fact, I just have a new issue of Game Informer showed up, and in their review section, they review like 3 mobile games, and one of them was like that stupid game Break the Rope or whatever the fuck it is. And it's like, do I really need a review for Break the Rope? I'm pretty sure I know what it is. It's a touchscreen game where you break ropes. Do you need to fucking review it? Like, okay, if I want to check it out, I'll check it out. It's free to play anyway, so why wouldn't I check it out? But I understand what he's saying. It seems like there's a lot of games these days that go under the radar of the mainstream press. And if you want my honest opinion, it's a combination of factors, okay? The first factor is that there's just a hell of a lot more games coming out than ever before. I remember back in the day, and I know I'll probably talk about this one day in my podcast when I do my Back in the Day segment, but back in the day when you had the days of the Genesis and the Super Nintendo and the PlayStation 1, it wasn't like, oh my god, I could go to the store right now and buy 100 games, or I could go online and download more of 1,000 games, you know what I mean? It wasn't like that. It was like, okay, this year there's maybe 100 games coming out for the console that you have, and you would pick and choose which ones you want to play, and it wasn't just so much to digest. You didn't have all these indie game studios doing this kind of stuff. It was a much different situation. So, back then, it wasn't that big of a deal. A game got missed. Well, really, it was hard to actually miss a game in the mainstream media because usually they covered most of them because there weren't that many. this day and age, like, how could you possibly play and review every single indie game and then have it, an article about it? You know what I mean? I don't think it would be possible to do that just because there's too many of them. Now, the other factor that you have to bring into it and realize is that it's all about this. Again, it seems like every question is turning into the same answer. It's all about this. It's all about money. Okay? So, when a mainstream media outlet, like let's say GameSpot, when they have to decide what games they're going to play and review, the bottom line is they're going to play and review the games that are paying them to advertise them, because that's part of the whole deal. You advertise our game, put our ads on your stuff, we pay you, that's how you make money on your website when people come to read your articles. So, obviously, the bigger games, you know what I mean, are always going to be covered by the mainstream because of this. Not because of the quality, not because you need to actually read a review for Call of Duty, because you know if you read a Call of Duty review for the mainstream, they're always going to rate it a 9 or above anyway, but because of this. Now, State of Decay was this smaller indie game. It didn't get a lot of coverage. It didn't really get a lot of attention. I did notice it did have a preview article in a issue of Game Informer a few months ago, and that's how I knew about the game. And then I didn't know when it was coming out. Luckily, my viewers told me it came out. I played it, and I actually loved the damn game. It's really well done, okay? But I really doubt that they have any kind of a marketing budget. So they're not going to reach out to a website like GameSpot and say, oh, by the way, we're going to give you ads to advertise our game. We'll throw money your way. Can you please review our game? Okay? So the less money you have, the more indie game studio you are, the harder it is to get your game noticed, and that's a problem. It's the same thing with movies. Movies with these huge budgets, millions and millions of dollars, they go out, you advertise the fuck out of them. Why do you think there were 6 Fast and Furious movies? Because they have the biggest money backing them, they're able to advertise the fuck out of it, and everyone goes to see it, versus a movie that maybe didn't have that much support, and you never heard of it, but it's an actually really fucking good movie, okay? So that's why I think a game like State of Decay maybe have been skipped by the mainstream media. Now, that being said, from what I understand, a lot of media did cover it. I think that actually Game Informer did do a review of it, and a lot of places rated the game very highly. So for the people that did review it, reviewed it pretty high, and I guess that's what you really need to do is understand that when you have an indie game like that, just because the mainstream media isn't talking about it doesn't mean it's not good. You should definitely give games like that a shot. I'm very happy that I did give State of Decay a shot, because the game is outstanding in my opinion. Okay? Okay, next question. I'm probably going to answer one or two more questions, and then we're going to take a quick break, okay? So the next question is from the Pete Mix, and he asks, what are your thoughts on free-to-play games arriving on next-gen consoles? Unlike current free-to-play games like Tekken Revolution, where you're limited to how much that you can actually play the game because it's free, games like PlanetSide 2, Warframe, and DC Universe Online, which are coming to the PlayStation 4, or World of Tanks, which is coming to Xbox One, are creating a new free-to-play era on consoles. Do you think that this will become a significant market area for next-gen console gaming, or do you think that they'll not really pick up like they have on the PC? That's an interesting question, because the free-to-play kind of deal was a big push at E3. If you noticed during both the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One press conferences, they were mentioning all these cool free-to-play games coming to consoles. The bottom line is this: anything that's free is going to do well. Like my videos, they're free, that's why people watch them. If people had to pay to see my content, probably a much significantly smaller group of people would probably watch my videos. It's just a fact of life. Free means more people get access to it, okay? So, when you talk about free-to-play, I guarantee you, on launch, the free-to-play games are probably going to do huge. Everyone's going to buy a PlayStation 4 and probably buy 1 or 2 launch titles, play them for a while, and say, alright, now what else is on my console? Then they're going to realize, holy shit, PlanetSide 2, DC Universe, Warframe, all these games are free? Download them and play them, you know what I mean? Now, will people necessarily sink money into those games? That remains to be seen. Because that's the deal here, is that those games only exist because people are paying to do things in them. Will people take the next step and actually pay to do things in them? I don't know, okay? But this is an interesting era, because it's the first time we're going to be getting these free-to-play games on consoles. Previously, they've always been on PC, and even games like Hawken and, what was that other one? The other one was, I don't think it was free to play, but Hawken, free to play game on PC. People were playing it and like, this is like better than a retail game with the graphics and shit. How is this free to play? So free to play games are not these little stupid addictive mini games anymore. They're actually becoming full blown as good as retail. And if that happens and continues to happen, it could completely change the business model and the way the games work. Now the problem is, there are certain games that obviously this work for and certain games that don't. Remember when we said that there was going to be a free-to-play model for Killer Instinct because that idiot Mitch Dyer misinformed everybody last month? Well, just imagine that. Imagine if Killer Instinct really were going to be a free-to-play game where you only get one character, and then if you want others, you have to pay $5 each for each character. But if the game has 20 characters, that means it costs $100 to buy the full game. Imagine if every game becomes like that. If you want to play the full game, you've got to dump hundreds of dollars into it. That's a slippery slope, and that's what we want to avoid, okay? So there are games that will work with that business model, but we have to be careful that not every game lapses into that business model, or else it could completely change the way gaming works, and it could become a very, very expensive kind of a model that we don't want to jump into, okay? All right, I'm going to do one more question, and then we're going to take a short break, and I'll do part 2, okay? So, the final question of part 1 is, Phil, the Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear Solid 3 situation, I want to talk about it. Now, keep in mind that I don't know much about the other people who were involved who made the montage videos of you playing these games and all the hate that you got about it, all right? But when I heard about this whole situation, I expected you to do what you usually do and just simply brush it off and not talk about the situation at all. Now, he's actually right. Most of the time when there's negativity that's kind of centered around me, I ignore it. I say, whatever, haters are going to hate no matter what. I'm just going to keep pushing forward and do what I did, okay? He actually says, I personally think that if you ignored these attacks that were going on you, then you would end up being the bigger man. That is a true statement. After all, people will always find ways to hate and spread negativity. So here's my question. What happened in this particular situation with these Metal Gear Solid montage videos that you actually responded to them? Was it the pileup of negativity that came with the whole situation? Was it the fact that there was just negativity surrounding you in general? What was it? Why did I address that situation? That question's from J. Mells, okay? It's a good question because it's true. Usually I don't. I just ignore the situation. I don't need to bring attention to that kind of stuff. But in this particular situation, I did address it. The reason in this situation that I addressed it is because unlike the other people who are like, okay, Phil's a cult leader and he's trying to brainwash children. I mean, that stuff's absolutely preposterous, okay? And anyone who's an outsider who sees that, they laugh. They say, that's a joke. That's like so fucking stupid. Who cares? You know what I mean? But in this situation, when you have someone who's making a 2.5-hour montage video of saying that I suck at games, okay? And that my Metal Gear Solid 2 playthrough, I guess, is kind of representative of who I am as a gamer, when really it's not. It was a situation of a game that I never played before, and I wasn't understanding it because the tutorials and things I was missing. I wasn't answering the codec calls. I didn't know what was going on with the game. It's blatant misinformation is what it is. And really what was happening was you had hundreds of people who had no idea who I was, okay? People who were maybe relative newcomers. Maybe they're people who just started watching videos on the internet and they're watching Tobuscus and PewDiePie and other stuff, and they don't know who Darkside Phil is, because let's face it, I'm small potatoes compared to most of the people who are the big gamers on YouTube. And so they know nothing about me, and then they watch this video, and all the video is doing is basically showing me in a negative light. It's showing the worst parts of the playthrough, showing the parts where I blatantly fail, and basically pushing that forward as this is what this gamer is. This is how bad he is at everything. Now let's face it, people have seen me play games. They know that I'm not that bad at every game that I play. I'm not the best gamer, but I'm also not terrible at every single game. There are games that I actually do well at. Fighting games I do exceptionally well at because I have a background in fighting games. So, you know, that kind of a video, not only was it malicious in intent, but it's misrepresentative of who I am as a gamer, and it was misrepresenting myself to hundreds and thousands of people on the internet who knew nothing about me and watched the video, and they're like, wow, this guy's terrible. And I was actually getting attacked. I still get attacked, you know, daily on Twitter by people, wow, just saw that montage video, you're horrible, you should die, and never make another video again because you suck. And I'm like, people are so fucking stupid and ignorant that they watch something like that, and instead of saying, wow, the person who made this video made a 2.5-hour montage of something that obviously they didn't like, instead of ignoring it, they watched the whole playthrough that this guy made and made a 2.5-hour montage. And again, I've said this last month, I'll say it again. If you don't like something, if you don't like the Jersey Shore, if you don't like Kim Kardashian, do you just ignore that? Or do you make a 2.5-hour hate montage of it? You know what I mean? The people who do that are sick in the fucking head. And I stand by that statement, that that guy who made that video is sick. He's mentally ill. He needs to have his head fucking inspected. Because I have more positive, better things to do with my time than to make a 2.5-hour hate video. Okay? So, because he did that, people were watching it, and again, instead of saying, wow, that guy is mentally ill, they're watching it and saying, wow, the gamer who's in this video is bad, I'm just going to go make fun of him, and we're going to start this movement now, the anti-Darkside movement, that Darkside sucks, and no one should watch his content, and that's what's been happening over the past few months. So, it's one thing if it's just something blatantly silly because someone is butthurt about something that happened to them, and then they go off and they say, I'm a cult leader, and they say preposterous stuff. That stuff, okay, it's so ridiculous, who the fuck would believe it? But this guy actually made a video that misrepresents who I am, by the way, without my permission, because legally he stole the footage, which you can't do, it's illegal. Once you upload a video to YouTube, it's actually copyright protected, unless it's being used for something under fair use, which this was not. This video was malicious in nature, and therefore would not be protected under fair use. In fact, it would be considered defamation. And because he did this, now you have all these new people who don't know who I am, who are basically attacking me. So, it comes to a point where you have to address certain things, and in this situation, I feel that I did it appropriately. I actually feel bad for the guy who made the video, because I think he's mentally ill. And this has to be said. This month, I attended, actually now it was last month, I attended SGC, Screw Attack Gaming Convention, okay? I had a table there. I had a panel there, okay? I had a public presence there. I was in the Iron Man of Gaming and made top 8. So there you go. People saying, Phil's such a horrible gamer, he should die and never make videos. Yet in a competition, I made top 8. Half the games I never even played. Like NBA Jam, I played like twice, and I got 3rd place in the tournament. So I think this proves that I'm not horrible at every game that I play, okay? So I was there at SGC. There were plenty of people there, including the guy who made that hate-filled montage was apparently there. Did he say a fucking word to me in person? Of course not. Because the bottom line is the people who do this kind of stuff are pussies. That's the bottom line. They only do it because they can hide behind a computer. They wouldn't do it in real life. Because in real life, if you go in someone's face like that, you're probably going to get knocked the fuck out. And, if he did it to my face, I probably would have made fun of him and said, you're such a disgusting disgrace for a human being that you would do a 2.5-hour video. You need to go get yourself checked into a fucking clinic because you're mentally fucking ill. But of course he wouldn't do that because he's a pussy. And that's what all these haters are. They're cowards. They hide behind the internet. They hide behind their computer. This internet era is a new thing. And so you've got a whole new group of bullies who have all of a sudden emerged from the cracks of society because they can now do it anonymously. Alright? And that's why they do it. Do you think these people would be doing it if they had to do it in person? Absolutely not. If you could do it on Twitter and you could do it on Facebook and you could do it on YouTube, but never have to actually confront the person, that's why they do it, okay? So that's why would you ever see me doing a hate-filled montage of someone? I would never do it because I have so much positivity going on with my own content that I'm focused on my own stuff. Why would I focus on the negatives of others? That is a sick mentality. That's when you have such a lack of talent and a lack of intelligence that you have nothing positive of your own to put out. You have to make fun of others. So that's what the situation is with all these people in this, oh, he sucks at Metal Gear and all this bullshit, okay? So just ignore it. Don't believe it. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who saw that and then went to my channel and said, he's not like that in all his videos. Like, what the fuck was the purpose of this montage? It's completely misrepresentative of who he is. The problem is not everyone's like that. A lot of people just take things at face value for the benefit of... They give them the benefit of the doubt, and now a lot of people are kind of in this hate group against me. So that's why I addressed it, because there was this public misrepresentation of myself going on, and I needed to address it to clear the air. And, again, it says a lot that these people that supposedly hate me so much had an opportunity to confront me and completely ignored me, and in fact, me getting top 8 at the Iron Man of Gaming, completely disproving the shit that they were saying in their stupid fucking videos. I think it says something, okay? Alright, so now I'm going to take a quick break on the stream. If you're watching this on the stream, we're just going to take like a 3 or 4 minute commercial break. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to end this part, and we're going to start a part 2 where I'm going to have many, many more questions to answer, okay? So thanks for watching. Stick around. We'll be right back for part 2. Oops. I clicked the wrong thing. There we go.